Obi Kwankwaso is now officially aligning with Peter Obi as his running mate. That's the report. We haven't confirmed it, but that's what we heard from members of both his team and Peter Obi's team. If confirmed, how significant would that be for the 2027 race?
Well, I think it would be very significant. And I can tell you, funnily enough, today I was approached by a lady, a doctor in Lagos, who is running something called the OK movement. O for Obi, K for Kwankwaso, OK movement. And she wanted to, solicit my support. And she indicated that there was some such formal agreement that is imminent. So I believe that may happen. I can't say for sure. And I think, it's going to be a good thing. A lot of obedience don't like Kwankwaso, and a lot of Kwankwasians don't like obedience, but they just have to manage themselves. Because, you know what I mean? Just like any alliance, they have to manage themselves.
Right.
Kwankwaso has a great following in the north, at least in Kano. We know obedience, Peter Obi's antecedents. So yeah, I think it could work.
Okay, let me come to you, Baba Yusuf, because you are from the north, and not only are you from the north, you're from Kano.
Absolutely.
And you're from the royal family in Kano. Do the electoral arithmetic for us in terms of how significant this might well be.
Well, it looks good on paper, but if you want to be honest, if I'm giving some tidbits in the strategy room to the team, the only way to win a war-tested scarred general in the field of politics like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I'm using this accolades because Mao Zedong said politics is war without bloodshed, is that the three principal players, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso with his dedicated talakawas, Excellency Peter Obi, the 6 million man with his teeming supporters, determined people, very loyal, and with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's the Colossus. Let's not forget about it. You cannot wish away Atiku Abubakar in the political permutations and combinations of this country. So these three personalities have to agree quickly. So if we have an Obi Kwankwaso arrangement, and if that is what will play out, they need the blessings and the backing, full backing of an Atiku. Otherwise, what played out in 2023 will play out. Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has consistently proven his grassroots, quality. But with profound respect to him, also it is still narrow when you look at the overall northeast, northwest, north central.
Right. And what about the point that Atiku made when he was here, that the split between himself and the governor of Kano State has also split his support base?
Definitely. Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is an ultimate spoiler. We call him in Hausa Kadangaran Bakin Tulu, Kakashi Kakat Tulu, Kabashi Paturwa. He's a lizard in the mouth of the pot. You kill him, you spoil the water. You leave him, you spoil the water. So that is how important, and you can see how President Tinubu tried as much as possible to bring him into the APC. And you can see how that is even impacting APC, as it were. So, but then, united they stand and have a chance to win, divided they fall, these opposition figures.
Right.
More so that they started late. We are moving into the election. They are still deciding who should lead and who should follow. So I think it is time for them to sit in a room and agree and decide,
and
first of all, quickly, and decide the feeling and decide the messaging, and then come back and fight.
Let me come to you, Dr. Raimi. Let's turn to Atiku Abubakar, because obviously he's come up several times now. He says 2027 will be his final run, but he also described the current administration as the worst ever. Whilst you contemplate whether that message resonates with Nigerians and by how much, he is of course 79, and after multiple attempts, in your assessment, does he represent persistence or political fatigue?
Yeah, that's a very deep question and important one you've asked, Charles. For me, I don't personally believe in former First President, His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar statement that perhaps 2027 will be the last time he will ever take a shot at presidency. Why?
He'll be 80.
Why? You know, by that time, first, even from the interview you conducted, he rewind himself on two principal points, which is making people like us, and majority of people are not giving him to it. One, he said, sometimes ago, several years back, during a national constitutional conference, he did not believe in rotational presidency, that's showing of a presidency. But that if he's elected by 2027, even if that's the only thing he will do, he now will believe in it. So he will rewind himself. Secondly, he shows that he's a tactics. For me, it's a strategic that he want to use to make sure that he still run, he get the ticket of ADC in order for him to run in 2027. So that if he says he will no longer run after 2027, maybe ADC people will now agree that, oh, let's give him this opportunity. But you see, by and large, it's not possible for a man whom his principal, former president Obasanjo, has said that no one should believe. He worked closely with him, that he is not somebody that could be believed. So some of these are my points, while I feel that it is not likely that he is to be believed. Lastly, you recall that he also said that the North is already disadvantaged in terms of a number of years by which they have ruled the country, that they still have 10 years or so that that a gap between between the number of years that
in terms of democratic years.
But I said that is wrong, because if you look at Nigerian presidency from 1960, when Nigeria gained independence, the North has ruled Nigeria for 48 years. As against the South.
I'm not a spokesman, but I think you're referring to the years in democracy.
That's why we are now saying that, look, that is a wrong argument to make. So basically, even if all of them have agreed in ADC, either to give Peter Obi, or who does not have the patience to build a party, who I will recommend two courses for. Of course, with all humility, yes, I will recommend.
Peter, sit down there.
Yes, I will recommend to His Excellency, former governor of Anambra State, to study a course that is called Complex Adaptive System. A complex adaptive system will enable him to see how to manage various stakeholders involved in a system in order that he can still evolve and provide the kind of leadership that delivers goals.
Well, I hope he's listening and taking your advice.
Secondly, I will also advise him that he should also learn that in Nigeria, you cannot want to inherit a house that you do not build. Peter Obi is not prepared to build a political house, but he wants to live and lead it. It's not going to be possible.
Well,
that will be.
Let me come to you. Let me come to you, Donu. Let's just briefly finish Atiku Abubakar and then move on. Can he unify the opposition? I mean, you've been close to the opposition, especially with these strong competing figures in that opposition space.
I think I've met all the leading lights, and I actually like Atiku as a person, and I supported him in 2019. Funnily enough, Peter Obi was his running mate then.
That's correct.
But I would like to plead with him. The age factor aside, I mean, Tinubu is about 100 years old, so I guess age is not such a big problem in Nigeria.
No, it's not
no, but I mean, jokes apart. I would like to beg Atiku to step aside and let the younger ones run this show with his support, his statesman-like support. Atiku he can let him be the, what do you call a midwife? What's the male version of a midwife? let him be the person who makes this happen.
Right.
Let that be his swan song, you know, because the way he's carrying on now, I don't doubt that he could get the ADC nomination. I'm not sure, but it's very possible. He's basically a very handy tool for the APC. You know, I'm begging Atiku, honestly, and I say this with respect and without malice. Step down. Oga, please, Your Excellency, step down.
Okay, let's, you know, we shall see how it goes, won't we? Let me come to you, Baba Yusuf, and let's get the response to all of this. We've talked about Atiku, we've talked about Obi from the APC, and of course the apex of the APC is President Bola Tinubu. He said opposition pressure won't distract him. But do you think the government is responding effectively to the criticism of Atiku and Obi, bearing in mind, of course, that they had a right of reply on this show, actually last night, with Daniel Buwala, who came in to speak on their behalf?
President Bola Ahmed, to me, is basking in the euphoria of the division in the oppositions and the what I call the lazy opposition politics of the opposition. That is why I have been worried as a concerned Nigerian. You see, democracy is democracy because of opposition and the pressure they provide and the counter they provide and the alternative that people see in them.
Absolutely.
That is what makes the ruling party to be on their toes, to deliver the mandate, to work towards something. As it were in Nigeria today, never happened in the history of this country, only in the dictatorial times. For the past 3 years, the leading figures have been malingering around, and he has seen no forced opposition. Even in the narration, I don't hear garner counter to the policies, to dilute the policies, to say this is the alternative. I heard former Vice President, I watched the program, I didn't hear concise counter to that effect of this is happening, it's wrong, this is the alternative, for example. And then to build a party that will counter. And that is why the APC is becoming what I call a political monster, because unperturbed and unchallenged, and not caring that there is an opposition that has the potential for those millions of people that are looking for alternative for them to lead is the danger. And that is why even in the National Assembly, when he went to address the joint session, he was basically mocking at the opposition. And all that has gone to the House, even when they were a little bit more in the opposition, they just did what you call carry go. And that is the challenge, because if that happens and we move into 2027 with this, we have a scenario in strategy that you call absolute power in democracy, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Okay. Let me come to you, Dr. Raimi, because in furtherance of what Baba Yusuf was saying, in other words, that the president is almost overly confident about the fact that he's going to literally walk through the election in 2027. We're now seeing the administration, and I think the president was saying this maybe yesterday or a couple of days ago, owning the APC's record, which they never did before, even if it's seen as bad under Buhari. In other words, he came out and said very clearly that he took over from himself, with referencing Muhammadu Buhari. And I wonder whether that signals in your mind, a sort of admission that I don't really care what you think, because in the past, the administration always distanced itself from the Buhari government, saying, hey, we have not, whenever you said, oh, it's APC, continue, they'll say, no, they're different. But now he's saying, I took over from myself. Buhari was my partner. So in a way, I'm an extension of Buhari. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, my thought is that actually, in terms of critical thinking and reasoning, what the president meant, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is that he has inherited both liability and asset from the administration. And that is a mark of a good leader.
No, he said it was an extension of himself. He was taking over from himself. In other words, I have been a part and parcel of that Buhari administration, and I am a continuation of it.
See, 3 point elements from what he said. Even in plain language, it then means that he's trying to play one, party loyalty. You know that a political party is a collection of people who have similar beliefs, similar ideology, and for a purpose to deliver.
Right.
So he is, in fact, it's a lesson for other political opposition party to be loyal, to be dedicated, and to accept that both the goods and the bad that may possibly have happened are what you are inheriting. He has said it before when he first took over. He said he is in power to inherit, he has inherited both the asset and liability from previous administration. And it's not just the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, even though he lay emphasis on this. And that's why he said, for whatever he must have meant, he want to correct them.
Okay, very briefly, because we're almost we just got 2 more minutes.
So I believe that exactly that is what he meant. And that is why you could see so many projects, even from 22 years ago, like the one that has just been commissioned this year, the Nigeria Revenue Service Building, was conceptualized 22 years ago.
Very briefly.
He has been able to complete it.
Okay.
So he is inheriting both the asset
you
and
made that
liability.
point. Very briefly, what's your reaction to that?
I think that for a man who definitely has intellectual capacity and organizational skills, Tinubu's performance is shockingly bad. It's an absolute disgrace. I keep on hearing about all these World Bank, IMF, oh, they're doing so well, macroeconomics. Look, the average person in this country doesn't care about that kind of rhetoric.
That's true.
You know, we are not interested in trickle-up economics. We want trickle-down. Right? So what I would say is that I'm actually shocked that Tinubu doesn't have more empathy, more interest in the ordinary people in this country. He's got so many dubious sidekicks and cronies doing contracts that without due process, and I'm just really disappointed in him actually, because even though I didn't support him in 2023, I thought that he would do better than this.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll give the final word to you, not only because of time, but also because you straddle the fence fairly objectively. We've talked about Atiku, Obi, President Tinubu, even Kwankwaso, and so on. Who at this moment appears most politically positioned to shape Nigeria's next chapter?
That is what I call the tragedy of our polity as it is today. Because the alternative would have given us the indication. Now, individually, the opposition political figures, including the likes of Amechi and Tambuwal and Co, may seem to have...
literally 30 seconds.
May have that. But the issue is they started late and they may not be able to muster what is enough to able to deliver the mandate.
Right.
And I worry about what they will do when they get the mandate, because it is now that I should be able to know the capacity, competence, confidence, and integrity of those that were able to lead. And that is what I call the tragedy that we are in. We need an alternative. Personally, I don't see any.
Okay. On that note,
They can do it.
On that note, okay, very good. You've taken the positions we assumed you would take. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Very illuminating conversation.